This could be the drive that would change so many things for Peyton Manning.
Ali and Frazier, Magic and Bird, Duke and Carolina, Red Sox Yankees, Michigan, Ohio State, and Brady versus Manning. The year is 2001. A 199th overall pick named Tom Brady out of Michigan was about to make his first ever start for the New England Patriots after starting quarterback Drew Bledsoe would go down with an injury. In the other locker room was Peyton Manning, the highly touted #1 overall pick in the 1998 draft. Up until this point, the Colts had established themselves as serious AFC contenders, winning 13 games in 1999, which was his second season, and 10 games in the previous 2000 season. Manning had already put up two 4,000-yard seasons in his first 3 years with an impressive 33-touchdown season in 2000, which tied for the most in the league. For Manning and the Colts, it was just another game against an average AFC team with a backup quarterback. But little did they know, on that September day in 2001, this Patriot team would be a permanent thorn in their side in a budding dynasty. And they'd get a taste of what was to come as Peyton Manning would throw 3 interceptions in a blowout 44-13 loss to Tom Brady and the winless New England Patriots. And one of the interceptions thrown by Manning was caught by Ty Law, a name Manning would become really familiar with in the coming years. And for those who don't know, this season the Colts and Patriots were in the same division, matching them up twice this season. And yet again, Tom Brady and the Patriots will blow out the Colts 38-17 to advance to 3-3. Brady, who won the first matchup, threw 0 touchdowns, ended up throwing 3 touchdowns the second time around. Manning at least didn't throw a pick in this game with his 335-yard outing accompanied by a touchdown. After this win, the Patriots would find their stride en route to their first ever Super Bowl victory in New Orleans over the greatest show on turf, St. Louis Rams. The Colts, meanwhile, fell to a disastrous 6-10 season, which obviously didn't land them in the playoffs. So right out the gate, this Tom Brady guy out of Michigan had done what Peyton Manning couldn't do: perform in the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. After NFL realignment took place, the Colts and Patriots were no longer in the same division, resulting in their next meeting coming in 2003. The year 2003 was when Peyton Manning would win his first MVP, throwing for an NFL-leading 4,276 passing yards. The Patriots went into this showdown at 9-2, riding a 7-game win streak. The Colts, on the other hand, were also 9-2. The hype for this game was palpable, to say the least. And the game delivered on all fronts. The Patriots got out the blocks fast, opening up a 17-0 lead, which they built upon to lead 31-10. Then after trading interceptions, the Colts would come storming back, and with 10:21 to go, the game was suddenly tied at 31. Brady would answer with a touchdown, and then after the following field goal, Peyton Manning had the ball in his hands to finally beat Tom Brady. The Colts would then be stopped on 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, and on 4th and goal for everything, Edgerrin James would be stuffed. And Tom Brady and the Patriots went into the RCA Dome and once again took down Manning and the Colts. The reason this game is so relevant is because these two would meet for the first time in that year's postseason, and thanks to their regular season win, this year's AFC Championship would be in Foxborough, a snowy Foxborough. Obviously, it helps to have home field advantage, but the major factor is that Peyton Manning throughout his illustrious career sucked in freezing temperatures. And that held true here in a disastrous performance. The league MVP was intercepted not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times in the biggest game of the season. 3 of them going to Ty Law alone. As they say, even the sheriff had to answer to the law. Peyton Manning was so good in the previous 2 weeks against the Chiefs and the Broncos that the Colts didn't punt once. It had seemed there'd be no stopping Peyton, but that wasn't the case, as we'd see. And now Peyton Manning was 0-4 versus Tom Brady, with the biggest loss coming in the AFC title, where they'd only lost by 10 points. 24-14 in a 4 interception performance. This game put a major dent in Manning's legacy, because even after the 4 interceptions, he still had a chance to tie the game late in the 4th quarter, and he'd just go 4 and out. The Patriots, of course, would go on to win Super Bowl #2 in 3 years, but at least Manning won his first MVP. And in 2004, he'd win his second MVP. We all know this story by now. Peyton dominates the regular season just to choke in the playoffs. This season started with the Colts making their return trip to Foxborough in primetime for the NFL kickoff. And of course, it's terrible weather conditions again. Instead of snow, it's rain because it's September after all. And it's very fitting that his first drive of the 2004 season ended in an interception, in the same building he threw 4 interceptions in just 8 months prior, making his regular season stats in Foxborough 6 touchdowns to 11 interceptions and a 60.6 quarterback rating. Good news is that would be his last interception of the night. The 2 quarterbacks would go score for score in an instant classic, but a fumble in the red zone with a chance to take the lead with 3:45 to go, only to be followed by when, with less than a minute to go, trailing by 3, Manning would take a horrible sack, forcing a really difficult field goal attempt in the rain that his quote-unquote idiot kicker would miss. And yet again, the Colts would leave Foxborough with the loss. They just couldn't overcome the Patriots. Like I mentioned, Manning would win the MVP of the year for the second year in a row, just to once again beat Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the playoffs, yet again in Foxborough. And at this point, is this even Brady versus Manning, or is it Manning versus Bill? Because Peyton Manning couldn't seem to figure out the New England Patriot defense, let alone Tom Brady. And this year's divisional round would be no different. The week before, the Colts dropped 49 points in the wild card versus the Broncos in the RCA Dome. The difference this week was once again it was snowing in Foxborough. The similarities to this year's playoff matchup and last year's playoff matchup were uncanny. The Patriots were at home thanks to winning in the regular season, Peyton Manning was the regular season MVP, and in the playoff matchup it was snowing again in Foxborough. And unfortunately for Peyton Manning, the play on the field wouldn't be any different either. The Colts amassed a grand total of 3 points in this game, a 20-3 defeat in the 6 Manning Bowl to drop Peyton to 0-6 versus Tom Brady. Manning threw 0 touchdowns and was picked off once, while Tom Brady, in a very game-managing role which he was used to, threw 1 touchdown to 0 interceptions. It's not like Manning was losing in shootouts. The guy was just completely disappearing when he had to step out of the RCA Dome and playing freezing cold snowing temperatures on grass. In my opinion, the true title to this rivalry up until this point is Manning vs. Belichick. The talk all week leading up to this game was the Patriots had an injured secondary and Peyton Manning was red hot, and it still didn't matter. On to the 2005 season, and congratulations to Peyton Manning. You finally got the monkey off your back. You ended the 6-game losing streak and beat Tom Brady and the Patriots in a 40-21 final score in Foxborough on November 5th, 2005. Shout out to Peyton Manning. Yes, you threw your 1 interception, but you backed it up with 3 touchdowns, 321 yards, and most importantly, you won in Foxborough. You're now the 1 seed, and guess what? The day before their first playoff game in the divisional round, the Broncos beat the Patriots, ensuring you wouldn't see them anymore. But it literally did not matter as the Colts melted down once again in the postseason, falling behind 21-3 to the 6 seed Steelers, needing a miracle second half comeback, which they almost completed, forcing a fumble on the play that 100% would have sealed the game had the Steelers reached the end zone. But Big Ben would make the play of the season. Then with the chance to tie the game, Mike Vanderjagt, the idiot kicker as referred to by Peyton Manning, would miss on his home turf to send his team to Cancun. That Steelers team went on to win the Super Bowl, and all Peyton Manning could do was watch. The following 2006 season, something had to give. You had this generational talent who wasn't just folding against the Patriots in the playoffs. It was well known he was folding due to the playoff stage in general. Even when he avoided Bill Belichick, he still couldn't get the job done. And now there was a new team on the block. The San Diego Chargers, led by Phillip Rivers and LaDainian Tomlinson, and the 2 seed was the Baltimore Ravens with their elite defense. The regular season for Peyton Manning and the Colts was of course a good one, but we expected this. It's Peyton Manning. They even beat the Patriots in Gillette once again in a roles-reversed scenario where Brady threw 4 interceptions in the loss, and who cares? What we were all waiting to see was how they'd perform in the playoffs. Their wildcard opponent was the 6 seed Chiefs, who they'd take care of 23-8. And in Gillette, the Patriots would win 37-16 to make their way to the divisional round as the 4th seed to take on the 1 seed San Diego Chargers. The Colts meanwhile had to face the 2 seed Ravens in Baltimore, a game where they'd scrape and claw to a 15-6 win. Peyton Manning had another terrible playoff game, only throwing 170 yards and 2 interceptions to 0 touchdowns. But the Colts defense did a great job containing Air McNair, and Peyton got a pass from his terrible outing. They now await the winner of the Chargers-Patriots game. Would they be heading to San Diego to take on the number 1 seed? Or will we see a Brady Manning rematch, but this time in Indianapolis for a change? And in one of my favorite playoff games of all time actually, the 4th quarter would deliver a thriller, because down 21-13, Tom Brady threw what should have been the game-losing interception to Marlon McCree, who would then be stripped of the ball by Patriots receiver Troy Brown, giving New England new life. And later in the drive, Brady would find Rashae Caldwell in the end zone, followed by a successful 2-point conversion to tie the game. The Chargers did nothing with the ball, and tied at 21 on 3rd and 10, Tom Brady would deliver a beautiful deep ball to put New England in position to take a 3-point lead. And when it was the Chargers' turn to answer, Nate Kading would miss the field goal. And officially, once again, it was Brady versus Manning in the AFC Championship. And this game meant everything for Manning's legacy. He was labeled as a playoff choker. He couldn't perform in the playoffs. He couldn't beat the Patriots when it mattered the most. The Colts finally had their chance at home, where they were 9-0 on the season, to look their demons in the eye and put them behind them and book their trip to Miami. A loss would be detrimental. Was the Patriot mental stranglehold too strong, or would the Colts finally get the job done? Going into the game, the Patriots would be without their star safety Rodney Harrison, who suffered an MCL injury and was hundreds of miles away at home. Not to mention the fact that Peyton's main nemesis, Ty Law, departed the previous offseason, along with defensive end Willie McGinnis. The Colts fans were loud and rowdy, and the Colts knew they needed everything to win this game. And it was finally time for kickoff. The Patriots were forced to punt on the opening drive. Important because New England was 5-0 when scoring on the opening drive in the season. Manning would then take the field, and you see his stats in this postseason, but they made it to this game and that's all that mattered. Peyton's first drive ended quickly with a 3-and-out. When the Patriots got the ball back, they'd go for it on a gutsy 4th and inches, and follow it with the first of 3 big man touchdowns on the night, as Logan Mankins picked up a fumble in the end zone for 6. Now it's a 7-0 lead over the Colts. Here we go again. The Colts then put up a methodical drive, but an amazing pass breakup by Ellis Hobbs is what kept Manning and the Colts out the end zone, 7-3 at the end of 1. The Patriots rushing attack would lead the way on the next drive. The Colts postseason rush yards allowed was 63.5 per game. Tonight the Patriots already put up 84 rush yards in 17 minutes of play. And yet again on 4th down, New England would go for it. And Troy Brown came up clutch, leading to a Corey Dillon rushing touchdown, and it was already 14-3. It just seemed maybe the Colts just can't overcome the Patriots. And just seconds after the New England touchdown, this would happen.
And Manning's pass is intercepted. It's Asante Samuel going in untouched. That was intended for Marvin Harrison.
A shocker. Out of nowhere, the Colts found themselves down 21-3. And this time there was no tight law. There wasn't any snow. It was in their own home, on their own turf they were so used to. Peyton Manning's legacy was shattering in front of our eyes. It was his 6th interception in 3 postseason games he played in this year. Already 66% of the interceptions he threw in 16 regular season games. Patriot fans were already calling their families and booking flights to Miami Gardens, Florida for Super Bowl 41. An unfathomable series of events had taken place in so little time. The following drive was a disaster for the Colts. In his last 3 dropbacks, Manning had been picked off and sacked twice. The ensuing Patriot drive, it looked like the lead would be extended even further. But back-to-back penalties on New England took the Patriots out of the red zone, ending the drive on 4th and 27. If the Colts could muster up a drive for any points, it would go a long way in this game. And a look at what Indianapolis was facing. 3 games, 25 drives, and a grand total of 1 whopping touchdown and 9 turnovers. And Peyton Manning found his stride, finding Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison and getting 3 on the board seconds before half. But this means the Colts have now gone 6 straight quarters in postseason play without a touchdown. The Colts will get the ball to start the second half, and a touchdown on this drive would have been monumental as they now had went 20 drives lasting 102 minutes without a touchdown. Would this be the breakthrough drive? Manning would find his top 2 receivers, Wayne and Harrison, to get down to the 1-yard line, and that's where he'd remember how they lost at the goal line in 2003, and took it upon himself to get what became a not so rare in 2006 rushing touchdown on a QB sneak. And before you know it, the score is 21-13 with Manning's 5th rushing touchdown of the season after amassing 0 in the 2003, 4, or 5 regular seasons. The crowd was now back in this game and the Patriot offense would go 3-and-out. Manning now had a chance to drive down the field and tie this game after trailing by 18. The Colts methodically drove down the field once again, finding Dan Klecko for the 2nd offensive lineman touchdown of the day. And of course the ball would find Harrison's hands for the 2-point conversion to tie the game at 21. An unprecedented comeback by the Colts when everyone had deservedly so counted them out. The momentum was immediately shifted though as Ellis Hobbs had an 80-yard kick return, taking a lot of pressure off the Patriot offense. And starting at the 21, the Patriots had an easy trip for the touchdown, which was only ruled a touchdown thanks to the controversial push-out rule which no longer exists. As now you must get both feet inbounds for it to be ruled a touchdown, no matter what contact takes place with the defender. Now trailing 28-21, the Colts had officially sustained a rhythm and drove right down the field. And for the 3rd time on the night, a big man would score a touchdown almost identically to the one scored by New England earlier in the game. Jeff Saturday recovered a fumble in the end zone for a touchdown, and once again, the game was tied. At 28 all, these 2 teams were now locked in a battle to determine who would be heading to South Florida to meet the Chicago Bears in Super Bowl 41. And the Colts defense would feed on the momentum and the crowd and force a 3-and-out to get the Colts offense back on the field. Their last 4 possessions resulted in touchdowns, but this one wouldn't yield the same result, and the Colts' chance for their first lead of the night would have to wait. The Patriot offense took advantage of great field position to retake the lead 31-28, but they missed an elite opportunity for 6 with a receiver wide open pre-snap. And now Manning would take the field, 7:35 to go. Sore thumb and all from the previous drive, looking to put his Patriot demons behind him. And he wouldn't take the lead, but an Adam Vinatieri field goal would tie the game once again 31 all. Ellis Hobbs seemed to be a man on a mission on special teams, and once again gave New England great field position. Tom Brady immediately got his team in field goal range, and with 4:50 to go, it was a war of attrition. Which team would dig down the most and punch their ticket to Miami? The Colts defense did their part, forcing a 43-yarder by Stephen Gostkowski, and the lead was once again 3. Now time was of the essence. Down 34-31 with only 3:49 to go, the Colts had the chance to take their first lead of the night and punch their first trip to the Super Bowl since 1971. The Patriots had already been here before. Brady and Belichick were 12-1 together in the postseason with 3 AFC Championship wins and 3 Super Bowls. Was it finally Peyton's time? And everything that needed to go right had gone right for them to get back in this game. And career game-winning drive number 29 was needed from the Sheriff to head to Miami. And of course he'd go 3-and-out. And you know the story. Tom Brady doesn't lose with a chance to close the game. Bill was 8-0 in playoff games decided by 7 points or less, but an uncharacteristic Patriot mistake would set them back. Too many men in the huddle before the drive ever got started. Now needing 15 yards for the first down, the Colts defense bent but didn't break. And Peyton would have yet another chance to face his demons. No Snow, no Ty Law, no Rodney Harrison. Just 80 yards and 11 white and dark blue jerseys stood in your way of defeating Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the AFC Championship game. Immediately a first down to Reggie Wayne. Things were looking good. It then be followed by a huge chunk play to Fletcher for 32 yards. And right before the 2-minute warning, a slant to Reggie Wayne, then the most heart-stopping fumble ever in the RCA Dome. Yes, there was a flag that would have negated the fumble had he not regained possession, but the way everyone's hearts dropped when that ball was suspended in the air was the defining moment of that play. And with a minute to go, on 3rd and 2, the Colts had finally done it. Joseph Adai ran in for the touchdown and taken a 38-34 lead, the biggest drive in the career of Peyton Manning. 32 second-half points put them in this position to take their first lead. 59 minutes they trailed, but there was still 1 whole minute to go. And if anyone had thrived in this position, it was Tom Brady, looking to etch another heartbreaker in the Colts and advance to his 4th Super Bowl and deny Peyton Manning once again. The RCA Dome was louder than ever, and the drive started with an incompletion. Just 49 seconds remained to go 79 yards with 2 timeouts in his back pocket. And Tom Brady would find Watson for a 19-yard completion, and without using a timeout, found Evans for a 14-yard completion, and already he was in Colt territory. Manning couldn't even look for the final 24 seconds. And then, a moment in history.
Intercepted! Colts are going to the Super Bowl. Marlon Jackson.
Marlon Jackson's interception ended the game and sent the Colts to Miami for Super Bowl 41. And finally, Peyton Manning had beaten Tom Brady when it mattered the most. And he did it in dramatic fashion, with the largest comeback in conference championship history. What a roller coaster of a game. Nobody saw this coming after being down 21-3. The media was ready to pounce on Manning for yet again living up to his name as a playoff choker. And 2 weeks later in Super Bowl 41 in a torrential downpour, a game which is most known for its incredible halftime performance by Prince, Peyton Manning conquered the last obstacle in his career, beating Rex Grossman and the Chicago Bears 29-17 in a rather sluggish game where the highlight came in the opening seconds with Devin Hester's iconic kick return. But after that moment, the game was dominated by the Colts' run game. And through all the ups and downs and all the adversity, Peyton Manning was finally a Super Bowl champion. Peyton Manning would go on to never lose a playoff game to Tom Brady again, beating the Patriots in the 2013 and 2015 AFC title games. And as for Tom Brady, well, he went on to have a pretty decent career after that AFC title loss, which also included a pretty iconic second half comeback himself on the big stage.